This is our one of the episode that we are doing today to all the listeners. So, welcome to this live discourse where ancient wisdom meets modern mental clarity. Hi, my name is Abhijit Jagtap. I am a therapeutic coach and your host for today. And today's episode is something that we all need, but we rarely understand. Okay, sleep as a tool for emotional resilience. Very few of us know that it is just a body regeneration, but I think it is more of an emotional resilience when it comes to sleep. It is not just 8 hours things, but sleep as an inner reset, as a path to peace, as a bridge between your nervous system and your higher self. One of the fact that I want to talk about before we start this particular live discuss, and did everybody know that one night of poor sleep can spike your emotional reactivity by 60%? It is not being cranky, but you don't lose your brain. It is just that you're not able to regulate your emotions if you have missed out on your sleep. Now that has been confirmed by neurological science in past, I can say 5 decades. But I think innately our cultural heritage and philosophy has already known about, what sleep means, what nidra means. So Upanishad describe this as turiya, a state of, beyond sleep, beyond dreams, where healing happens in stillness. So this is the area to guide us into this space today. I am honored to welcome Dr. Shalini Bhatnagar. She is a holistic healer and a yogic philosopher. She's also done her PhD in this particular program, and she's also pursuing PhD in that. So today, together, we are gonna explore what is a true, sleep actually means, why your sleep is emotional medicine, and why yogic nidra and stillness can change the way you heal without trying to fix yourself. So let's begin. So welcome on board, Dr. Shalini.
Hi, Abhijit. Thank you so much. Yeah. So
Great.
actually, I am a homeopathic doctor.
Right.
And then I have been in the space of energy healing for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
I also practice other modalities like Reiki and Access Back Consciousness, and of course, the yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So today we will be talking about sleep mostly, right?
Right, right. Today we want to talk about the sleep, the one of the most important part that is there.
Yes.
So, what is the deeper meaning of sleep? That is the first question, and beyond just physical rest.
Yeah, so it is primarily the physical rest as we all
Mm-hmm.
know it. So it is a neurological state in which our mind and body is meant to rest. So typically we lie down for about say 7 to 8 hours. Our eyes are closed. Most of the postures are, minimal.
Mm-hmm.
We have our breathing is smoother, regular. Our heartbeat goes slower. The brain activities go slower, and this is the time when most of the repair and the rejuvenation of the body happens.
Right.
So that is primarily what sleep is. But at the same time, what we need to understand is that because we are trying to give it the best, we are trying to attain the best out of a regular sleep, it is
Mm-hmm.
important to regulate our other functions around sleep, as we will discuss gradually. So the
Right.
first being food, right?
Mm.
That is why we say please eat as early as you can, say 3 to 4 hours before you actually get into bed, so that the digestion happens while you're still awake and
Right.
the body can kind of concentrate on repairing your other systems
Mm.
rather than just um, taking up the whole energy in digestion.
Right. So that is like, yeah, definitely we know that's how sleep works. It is more about repairing that is going on. But is sleep just a passive state, or is it something that actively happen without us during it? Like, is there any kind of a conscious way of getting into that state?
Yes, there is. So when we talk scientifically about sleep,
Mm-hmm.
I think most of us are aware that there are two main cycles in the sleep, right? One is the
Mm-hmm.
non-REM and the other is the REM, which is the rapid eye movement,
Right.
and the non-rapid eye movement. And these cycles typically one after the other they happen. First the non-REM and then the REM. Say about 90 to 120 minutes is the single cycle, and we have a repetition of about 4 to 5 cycles in a one night sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the non-REM sleep, we have three stages of sleep: first, second, and third. In the first
Right.
part, we are just getting into sleep. In the second part, we are deeper into sleep. And in the third part, we are the deepest in the sleep. And
Right.
that deepest part of sleep is where the growth hormone is released, and the actual repair or the actual rejuvenation happens only in the deepest part of the sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And when they study sleep, in the sense of when we study the brain activity we have realized that certain parts of the brain light up during the deepest part of sleep. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and that is happening only for about 2 to 3 hours. If we
Right.
calculate in the whole
Mm-hmm.
7 to 8 hours of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
only 2 to 3 hours of the deepest part of the sleep is what you are getting. So the
Mm.
actual repair is happening only for that long. So
Right.
the number of hours do not define how well we have slept. It is how often we have touched the deepest part of our sleep, which will actually define how good the sleep has been, right?
True.
So that
True.
is what we are all trying to achieve through various, whether it is through the yogic nidras or through the other, sleep special technique which I practice, and then the stillness technique which we will talk about in a while. So all these things are trying to regulate our body in such a manner, the mind in such a manner that we are able to touch upon the deepest sleep for the longest time and get the
Mm-hmm.
best out of that.
Great, great. Uh, this actually, points out to one of the finding that is there, that if an adult is deprived of sleep, and the struggle to suppress their negative memories, shows
Mhm.
less, prefrontal cortex activities,
Yes.
with more intrusive thoughts. So,
Mhm.
do you associate any study that really talks about this? Because I think we are becoming more fuzzier, more reactive,
Correct.
than being able to respond. Do sleep contribute to such kind of, a behavioral change that is there?
Yes, absolutely. So anxiety state will
Hmm.
spike up if you have not had a good rested sleep, right? Because
Hmm.
your body would not have been able to repair that part. So all
Right.
this is very much indicative through the hormonal studies, which you just
Hmm.
talk about. So definitely, yes, of course, a deprived sleep or a
Hmm.
unrested sleep, or
Hmm.
when you have not been able to sleep at all,
Hmm.
which is getting very common even in the youngsters now.
Right.
So then the decision making ability very
Hmm.
much reflects immediately in the following day. So you don't actually have to wait for it to
Hmm.
be accumulated over a couple of days. Very,
Right.
very quickly within the next day, you will be able to actually see that
Hmm.
how your decision making goes down, how you are poorly responding to the triggers around you, how your
Hmm.
work productivity goes down. So yes.
Right. So these replications that we are able to see in most of the adults, that we are not even adults, if I say adolescents,
Mm-hmm.
and little bit of senior adults who are below 40. Even not now, I'm not going to count the age. We have people who are into 60s. My father, who is constantly active on mobile phone. Okay.
Right.
Those sleep cycles have also, they are depriving of sleeps, because of the use of mobiles that is there, and the blue screen and the blue light that we are constantly
Absolutely.
talking about. So if I at all have to talk about, like, how do you personally assess sleep quality beyond what sleep trackers shows, because
Right.
that is something that a symptoms you can talk about, which are
Yes.
naturally shown into adults, kids, and now soon senior citizens as well.
Yes. So the first thing is, how do you assess your own quality of sleep, right?
Hmm.
So one is your tracker, of course, which gives you a lot of information. But if
Right.
we remove that from the scenario, so the first thing which we would note down is how quickly am I able to get into sleep? So the moment I get into bed, how long do I actually take to fall asleep?
Right.
Typically, it should not be beyond 10 to 15 minutes. So
Hmm.
within 10 to 15 minutes, a person should be able to fall asleep. Okay.
Right.
Then the next comes that how often you wake up in the night time.
Hmm.
So with
Hmm.
seniors, of course, there's a lot of other issues.
Hmm.
Like they might have to wake up to use the washroom and other things. But
Right.
even with the younger people, we have noticed that they tend to wake up quite a bit in the night.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is one thing. Then the next is, once you wake up, how quickly are you able to get back into sleep?
Hmm.
So that is
Hmm.
one more way of assessing it.
Hmm.
Then, when you wake up in the morning, how quickly are you able to get out of bed? Do you
Right.
procrastinate? Do you push it? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, do you do that?
Hmm.
So, that
Hmm.
is one thing. And then,
Hmm.
when you wake up, how
Hmm.
fresh you're feeling, how ready you are for the day. And then, of course, your energy should be, you should be energized and able to carry on your activities throughout the day.
True.
That these are some of the ways you can assess the quality of your own sleep.
Mm.
You don't need anybody there.
True.
And this can be done, of course, which you have to observe on your own, right?
Mm.
And a certain discipline goes around it.
True. Because it's so well put, Dr. Shalini, that we are so much addicted to mobile phones that we are not able to monitor ourselves organically. We have to have certain kind of virtual
That is,
assist, a
yes.
dependency on other application which tracks our sleep. And within that also it is looked as a badge of honor, like just for the sake of, like, I have seen step counting applications that are there. People just
Yes,
tend to
true.
fake those particular kind of step activities. And there are a lot of many things, because when I look at this particular I think this is a kind of a pandemic that we are heading into, of sleep deprivedness, and the direct relation with the emotional resilience that we are not able to achieve. And most of the
Mhm.
youngsters are constantly stressed. Burnout is one of the most burning issue that is there, I would say, the pun intended.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is how we are as a society, as a kind of an fraternity where we are working into corporate areas. We are looking this as an inner sign,
Mhm.
that something that we have to talk about, like what
Mhm.
do you categorize as well slept, or on deeper level. If I want to talk about a profile, we know the
Mhm.
profile of the person who is sleep deprived and how he would react.
Right.
Do you
Right.
have any profile that a person can identify themselves with?
Mhm. So the first thing, like I just said,
Mm,
how fresh you feel when you wake up in the morning
mm, mm.
and how well you're able to carry on your day. So
Right.
that would include not responding to triggers. So the very fact that you respond to something immediately. So
Mm.
first would be you hit the traffic, how well
Right.
you're able to manage around it, right? So that
Mm.
is something you can immediately, irritability is something we immediately notice. And a
True.
person who is
Mm.
able to be calmer in those situations is the
Mm.
person, is somebody, see, we can observe it in ourselves. So one is a personality type. So there are
Right.
some people who would be, I'm sorry.
It's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So some people who are naturally prone to, easier, who lose it easily.
Mm.
But there
Mm.
are others who lose it only when they are, they're sleep deprived, or for that matter, on a one particular day, they realize that today is not one of the best days for them. And that would be the day they have not had a good restful sleep,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
this is something you need to observe. And the
Mm.
first and the foremost is your energy levels. Next,
Right.
of course, how you are eating. So you should be feeling hungry very well, right?
Mm.
You
Mm.
should you should have a good hunger. A good hunger is a very good indicator of a healthy being. So
Okay.
you should feel hungry at the right time. You should be able to, your poop should be clear in the morning. Okay, so
True.
that is
Mm.
another sign of a good health and a good rested,
Mm.
sleep. A person has rested and the digestive system has worked well, right?
Mm.
So these
Mm.
are some basic things which you will be able to see. Your hunger, your poop, how well you're drinking the water, right? Even water deprivation can lead to poor sleep later in the night. And
Mm.
again, we also recommend for people who wake up too often in the night to not drink at least 3 to 2 hours before they go to sleep. So that
Mm.
might not be the reason they need to wake up. That is more for the elderlies, but yeah. So these are some of the ways you yourself
Mm.
can realize that what has happened, what has gone
Mm.
wrong in the day. And it might be just a small little thing like sleeping your sleep. It can be very easily fixed. Like
Right. Right.
we'll just discuss it. Very, very easy to fix your sleep.
Great, great. So this was the profiling of the sleeplessness, and we talked about what actually sleep means and what are the different indication, inner wise and as well as outer wise behavior. And you put a very important part and aspect that you will feel more calmer. And
Mm-hmm.
now we always associate calmness with the internal state, and definitely yes. But how you're responding, if you're responding calmly, that means you are calmer. If you're feeling
Absolutely.
calm, it's not nothing there, because you might be someone who can also feel numb. We usually dissociate yourself from numbness and calmness. There is totally different way of looking towards it. People see that if I emotionless, if I am numb, that means I'm calmer. No, if
Mhm.
you are able to respond, if the resilience is there, if you are able
Yes.
to digest, as you said, when you go on into traffic, if you are able to handle the situation in a very calmer way, out of your behavior, not getting
Mhm.
agitated, not throwing fist or at anybody, but yes, that is something would be one of the things that you can look out for. So if you are lately, if you're getting more agitated by anybody cutting you on lanes, and you are getting into fights which are really ridiculous and trivial, that means somewhere the calculation is going wrong with your sleep. All right.
Yes.
And when
Very.
we talk about sleep so much, so I just
Mhm.
want to dive into the, the third section that is there of yogic wisdom and Upanishads and Gita, talking about this particular part. So what does Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad teach us about sleeps and
So
consciousness?
Bhagavad Gita very clearly talks about moderation. Okay,
Hmm.
moderation in everything, and that is what will lead you to success in life.
True.
So one of the very, very, very striking shloka is in yuktahar viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu.
Hmm.
It is talking about that how if you eat in moderation, if you exercise in moderation, if you sleep in moderation, right? If you do all these activities in moderation, you will be able to uh, take the misery away. So that is the literal translation. But what it means is that you will be able to achieve or move to the next level in success
Hmm.
only when you maintain everything in moderation. And
Right.
sleep is one of the very important. So Gita talks about that you should eat in moderation. You should eat neither too much nor too less. Because if
Hmm.
you're eating too less, again, you will not be able to concentrate. If you're
Right.
eating too much, we all know the
Hmm.
repercussions.
Hmm.
Similarly, for sleep, if you're sleeping too less
Hmm.
or too much, both
Hmm.
are two extremes, right? So
Right.
everything has to be in moderation.
Hmm.
Only
Hmm.
then you will be able to succeed.
Hmm.
And that is one of the very important thing which we should carry forward.
Hmm.
And of course, if you want to delve deeper into the Upanishads, we have very, very clear, um, how we segregate sleep according to our Upanishads. In Mandukya Upanishad, we talk about
Hmm.
how sleep has been, the division of sleep, how it is
Hmm.
divided.
Hmm.
So primarily, they divide sleep into four parts. The
Hmm.
first three parts being very similar to our scientific classification of sleep. The
Right.
first is the Jagrut Avastha, which is the wake, which
Hmm.
we are all right now
Hmm.
experiencing the gross reality. The next is the Swapna Avastha, which is your REM sleep you could talk about, the rapid eye movement wherein you are dreaming. So
Hmm.
that is the second stage of sleep, which is also real, but it is a
Hmm.
subtler experience which we are having. Then is the Sushupta Avastha, which is the deeper sleep, which is
Hmm.
what we also talk about in the non-REM, the third stage of sleep, wherein the growth hormone is released. And the Upanishads very clearly talks about that how it is this deepest level of sleep, which is what one needs to achieve in order to have a better day in the next ahead.
Right.
And then it talks about a fourth aspect of Turiya, which is something which is beyond all these three stages. So
Hmm.
when you transcend all these three stages, that is when you reach the Turiya. So very clearly they are defining, which is very similar to our science. So science is just catching up, like we say,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So yeah. So very clearly we talk
Hmm.
about sleep, and
Hmm.
enough and more documentation is there in our ancient text of sleep.
Hmm. Right. So when I look at sleep as a part of, emotional resilience, and when I talk about like how it, charges memories and essentially memory clarity and emotional processing.
Mhm.
So as you said rightly that RMS, after that we get into a beta stage of sleep, and that is also
Right,
called as slow wave sleep or N3. So
correct.
can you just elaborate a bit on that and talk about how a person who is just trying to get into sleep, like a daily ritual that we can do?
Mhm.
Because I do understand that yes, you can't have a switch off button that you can just off it and then you go to sleep. It is like you are traveling in a car of 100 kilometers per hour, okay, and you can't brake suddenly. It won't bring it to halt. It will skid and it would go off track. Same thing happens with our mind. We are so much into constant thinking, constant consumption of data, constant exposure to social media and all other things that are there, okay, because it is just adding up to the perfect storm that we are already living into. Sleep deprived, weaker emotional regulation, the kind of stress that is had right now into the society, or we are the kind of information that we are exposed, the the aircraft crashing down, the constant
Mhm.
rape and murder,
Yeah,
and the war that is going on. So
true.
we are so much surrounded by so many things, and it is really important part that we somewhere have to really unwind ourselves, but it has to be done in a gradual level. We can't have brake apply to 100 kilometers per hour. So when we talk about slow wave sleep, is there any kind of a ritual that is there? And definitely it comes through Yoga Nidra. And how you want to talk about the technique that we can apply on a common basis, because if nobody's aware of it, we say Yoga Nidra, but it is same thing that a slow wave sleep. So is there any kind of ritual that we can do 1 hour or 2 hour before to improve the quality of sleep?
Yes. So the one most important ritual that everybody should follow is your making sure your blue light is not around you for at least an hour before you go to sleep, right? Eating well in advance before sleep, like we just spoke about a couple of hours, so that you are not, And then we have something called the sleep special technique, which I practice, which I also conduct classes every day. So
Right.
you can get in touch with me for that.
Sure.
But that is something that has a very basic set of yogic asanas, which help you get into a deeper, better quality of sleep. Okay, that is called the sleep special technique. Then we have the longer version of the same technique, which is the Yoga Nidra, which is more popularly known, which is more basically it has been there with our sages for a long time and more popularized by the Bahar School of Yoga. So in this, we talk about how we guide you into a deeper state of relaxation. So the basic, you lie down in Shavasana. Shavasana is supposed to be the highest or the best asana which one can be in. Okay. It is a state in which you lie down on the floor or on the bed, on your back. Your feet are slightly apart and your hands are away from the body. Palms should be facing the ceiling. Okay. That's how you lie down. And gradually you start to become aware of your breath. So when you gradually move into awareness of your breath, obviously you start to slow down, right? Your brain activities start to slow down. And then we guide you into deeper relaxation of each and every muscle in your body. So a person speaks out, it is very freely available on the YouTube.
Right.
It is a process of about 40 to 45 minutes, wherein you listen to the audio and you follow it. So
Right.
the very important part in Yoga Nidra is that you should not fall asleep during the Yoga Nidra. Okay. So Yoga Nidra is supposed to be conscious deep sleep. Okay.
Right.
Which comes only with practice. Initially, because it is so deeply relaxing and we are not used to that deeper relaxation, right? So when we are guided into a deeper relaxation, we tend to immediately switch off to sleep. And somewhere when you are still maybe into 10, 5, 15 minutes of Yoga Nidra, you would be zoned out, which is great. Initially, it's all right. But
Right.
gradually, you should try to practice and sustain the entire activity or the entire cycle of relaxation.
Right.
And then you will be able to be totally conscious of the whole process. And when you do that, and when you wake up after that, you will be super relaxed.
True.
Super attentive. There have been research papers published of Yoga Nidra, innumerable. If you go and check online, there'll be innumerable papers which talk about how effectively Yoga Nidra has actually helped people in, cognitive abilities, your memory restorations. I mean, there is a whole set of them available for anybody to read. And very importantly, what it does, it also shortens your actual need for the number of hours of sleep.
Right.
So, all the people, the super active people, I don't want to name anybody, all these people who sleep for about 4 to 5 hours are regularly practicing something similar to Yoga Nidra. Maybe they don't name it that, maybe they have another name for the same relaxation, but essentially that is what they're practicing. And that is how they're able to be more productive and have longer hours of productivity, against just sleeping for lesser number of hours. But it has to be done consistently over days.
And you have really pointed out one technique that is there, and I have also been following Yoga Nidra, and it is like an active muscle relaxation technique that we call usually in psychologic or hypnotic state that is there.
Correct.
And it has proven that the N3 or deep sleep that we're talking about, the slow wave simulator or something like Yoga Nidra is something that stimulates that, and it starts with your body definitely. How you go ahead and you first of all, whenever you have to work on your mind problem, you don't have to work with your mind, you have to work with your body. Usually what we do, we tackle our overthinking with our mind only. That is the problematic thing. The way to handle your mind is to handle your body with that. So if you, it is because it has a psychosomatic kind of an experience that you are going through. So I usually do that. If I'm very agitated, I take a quick walk. If I'm really agitated, I make sure that I'm doing a stretch. I do a kind of an a Superman position that is there, or you call it as an SRK position that is there. Because I think when you have a psychosomatic or somatic exercise that you do with yourself, or tapping on your thorax
The
area,
active
your
points,
upper
yes.
abdomen. So now these are the techniques which actually gradually applies the brakes, and Yoga Nidra is the final antidote that you can do it for people who are suffering from chronic insomnia. And it
Yes.
has also been proven in a lot many studies that chronic insomnia patient can also be
And
very
also,
beneficial through Yoga
yes,
Nidra. So there
true.
was another study which also talked about, for especially for student and for high performing individuals
Mhm.
who are working into, let's say, a high performing or a high stressful jobs and organizations. If
Right.
they are in that kind of a position, Yoga Nidra can work wonders. Because what we are doing right now, we are actually passing out into sleep. Because
Absolutely.
what happened? Because we are overloading our cognitive ability, we are overloading our eyes, we are overloading our body, we are having the tension, and body is not able to handle and goes into sleep. That is a very what I can say, destructive way of getting to sleep, because it
Very
is,
destructive,
yeah,
very negative way. All
negative
the
way.
negative energy which you have carried out through the day, you
Hmm.
dump it into your bed, right?
Right.
Go to
True.
when you just kind of crash into a sleep.
Right.
But when you practice some kind of a yoga
Hmm.
nidra or
Hmm.
sleep special technique or stillness technique, which we'll talk about, you are actually releasing all the negativity out of your body
Hmm.
and ensuring that when you go into bed, you're totally and completely relaxed. So every cell in your body has already been oxygenated
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
get into sleep. And then obviously it is like obviously the quality of sleep will be much superior then, right?
True.
So
True.
that is the main difference between
Hmm.
when you do a yogic practice before you go into bed, that the quality of your sleep improves. It's only the mind and body which is getting at rest when you are, sleeping, when you're crashing into bed. But when you're doing it after the relaxation part, um, the third aspect or the fourth aspect, the turiya, which we talk about. So
Hmm.
that is evoked in some manner because
Hmm.
although that is always present within us, right? We are all
Hmm. Hmm.
part of the superconsciousness, so to say.
True. True.
But the awareness, that
Hmm.
awareness is
Hmm.
missing, right? So
Hmm.
that split second of an awareness is achieved
Hmm.
only then.
True.
And that is the seat of the most superior intellect, right? So we are not talking about renunciation here. We
Yeah.
are talking about, so we are talking about, maximum utilization of our own potential
Hmm. Hmm.
through rest, which is the most, I mean, one third of our life we sleep,
Right.
right? So why not make the best of it? You would sleep every day. There is no other
Right.
way.
True.
So
Right.
why not make the best of it, and why not
Hmm.
use it to your, to
Hmm.
enhance your potential to the best? That is what we are trying to, uh,
Hmm.
that light we are trying to just
Right.
ignite in people around.
That's so beautifully put. I think one of the study that has also been released, that if anybody who is taking anti-depression
Present.
medicines,
Yes.
and if he or she want to reduce it, or at least have a certain kind of what I can say, there is always a dangerous amount of whatever you take, but reduce the quantity of it. Yoga Nidra, or slow wave sleep simulation, can be one of the most effective way of reducing those drug, if you're if at all
Yes.
on that drugs.
Yes. So,
Mm.
somebody who is on antidepressants already, we do not recommend Yoga Nidra immediately.
Mhm.
They need, because then they can, because it is something very, very relaxing. And if somebody is already into a negative state of mind, it can
Mhm.
pronounce further. So we
Mhm.
first, give them the other stimulating asanas, which are more
Mhm.
physically active asanas,
Right.
so that they can dissipate more of that energy. And then
Mhm.
we take them into relaxation.
Mhm.
So they will not be advised or asked to
Mhm.
practice Yoga Nidra immediately. So that is, in fact, one of the contraindications of Yoga Nidra. We do not immediately advise them to go
Mhm.
on that.
Mhm.
But yes, once they have, so they need to be under the supervision of somebody,
Right.
and then they can practice
Right.
gradually.
You have actually pulled out a very important point, and actually, if most of our listener might have missed out that sleeping is not getting lost into dreamland, but actually feeling that particular lightness, that awareness of that particular state of what I can say, not in void or limbo, but where you feel conscious, what I feel like what you have rightly said. And I want you to elaborate more on that, because we have this particular kind of a journey from means when I started my journey of meditation. Usually meditation used to follow by a great quality of sleep. But I think most time when you get into meditation, and Yoga Nidra would be totally different when we talk about that. So when I want to practice, if I'm practicing meditation, and after that I am feeling hyper, stimulated or something like that, am I doing meditation wrong, or is there any kind of way that I can marry both of the technique together so that the quality of sleep can be there? Because meditation can bring up a lot of overthinking into the realm, because I think a lot of meditators have left out of 10, at least 7 or 8 might have left meditating because it's totally haunting to stay with yourself, because it brings off a lot of shadow self things that are reflections that comes in. Because I do some shadow work as well, and they said, sir, we won't do any kind of hypnotherapy. We don't do any kind of yoga nidra. You tell me, you take me a piece of paper, you ask me questions, I will, write that, but I won't go into that particular state. So when I look at this particular, when I look at yoga nidra as a very effective antidepressant and a very enriched, naturally, what I can say, tap in resource of
Mm-hmm.
antidepressant or healing energies, and a lot of many
Mm-hmm.
people have done that research.
Correct.
So when both of this can be married through any kind of technique that you have, yoga nidra is there, but anything that you have researched
Yes.
which can give.
So I and my friend Dr. Arvinder, we have co-founded a technique called the Stillness Technique.
Hmm,
Okay.
hmm,
This is a very short process of just about 10 minutes,
hmm,
which we practice and we conduct live every day, Monday to Sunday in the
hmm,
evening. This is a process in which we have married, so to say, the homeopathic principles and
hmm.
the principles of yogic philosophy.
Oh, that's interesting. Hmm,
So homeopathy talks about something called the vital force,
hmm,
which you can call the jivatma in yogic language. So that is the basic soul which is there in all of us. And only when that vital force is deflected, that is when a person falls sick. So
hmm,
mind, body, and vital force should be in alignment for a
hmm.
person to be healthy. Okay,
Right.
that is what homeopathic principle talks about. And the yogic principle talks about the alignment of the mind, body, and soul all the time. So,
Hmm,
what are we trying to achieve through meditation? Is that right? Now, in homeopathy, how we treat a patient is by giving a stimulus in the form of a homeopathic medicine,
hmm,
which brings the vital force back into alignment.
hmm, hmm,
And in the yogic medicine, in the yogic philosophy, we ask you to meditate, right? As
hmm,
a stimulus to get that alignment back. Now,
hmm.
if we bring these two together, what we do is we guide you into physical stillness. Okay.
Right.
So you sit comfortably, you could be lying down, you could be sitting, you could be, just comfortable with comfortable loose clothing. And we guide you into a absolutely physical still state.
Hmm,
Okay.
hmm,
So we have observed that when a person goes physically still, gradually the mind also becomes still. Okay.
hmm,
And this is a very, very short process. The actual stillness happens only for 4 minutes. Okay. So this is a number which we have achieved after a lot of research. Okay. So
right.
just 4 minutes of still body
Hmm, hmm,
can take you very deep into your still mind. Initially, you will have the waves of thoughts and all that will come, just keeping like we do in meditation, right? So
true,
we
true.
just keep letting the thought come and go, come and not engage with it.
Hmm,
Just in 4 minutes, we ease you out,
hmm,
right? And then we have a second part of it wherein we do some thymus activation, which I think most of us are aware. Like it is a gland which is there behind our clavicular region, which is known to be the seat of immunity in a human body. But
hmm,
that goes vestigial after our puberty. So the moment we hit puberty, that doesn't function. But through
hmm,
these kind of activations, which we do after the stillness process, it
hmm,
can be kept active. So
hmm.
this entire process which I'm talking about, which we call the stillness technique, takes only about 14 to 15 minutes.
Right.
And post that, your health, of course, we initially started it for the immunity. We started, practicing it in the COVID times. where it was extremely challenging, a lot of anxiety and things. And that is how we realized we were trying to only attain the physical immunity. But once the physical immunity is achieved and you gradually start continuing to do this practice, we observed out it trickles into every area of your life. Each and every area. We have reported people doing better in careers, and manifestations. This is something which we had not even thought about, but then we have testimonials of people, reporting amazing victories just by. So what we have realized that any kind of discipline when you have around a ritual, that is what ultimately helps you, into a better quality of sleep and a better productive day the next day. But when you have ancient yogic practices like the Yoga Nidra, they tend to be slightly difficult for a person to practice on a daily basis, because a minimum yogic Nidra is 45 minutes, right? Ideally. There are research papers on shorter yogic Nidras also, but they are not that effective. So I think, and there is the stillness part in Yoga Nidra also. There is a part of stillness in the Yogic Nidra also, but that follows much later. Almost about 30 minutes of physical relaxation is when we hit the stillness there. So the whole process, if you shorten it and combine it with some other thymus activation, the whole totality of things comes out as an amazing tool for people who are busy, and especially people who are wanting to finish things quickly, right? And still get the maximum benefit out of it.
Yeah, but I think you have put it in a very a small utility box that person can
Yes.
actually see into the mental image that has been created, that I can see the steps that is there. Now, once a person, as you said, it takes around 45 minutes, and you have already married it to create a shorter version of it.
Yeah.
So ideally, it takes how much? 20 minutes? Like what?
No, it takes just about 15 minutes
15 minutes.
from start
Okay.
to end.
So if I talk about the high performing, individuals who want to make this as a practice during afternoon, because I think in corporate world, afternoons are really,
Yes,
wherein
challenging.
people tend to get into that particular zone.
Yes.
So if we can have a kind of a legit way of doing it, like let's say in Japan, there is a kind of a practice where you can actually, doze off for like 30 minutes or an hour or so. And I think that kind of practice has to bring into India, because I think most of us are like, have become expert in, sleeping with their eyes open. That what has Indian has, done that jugaad and invented that particular part. Because presentism is there, we are absent with our mind. We are not able to focus work after, after a heavy lunch. And definitely that comes into a lifestyle and choice of food that we do when we have a lunch, and when we have to be very energetic, because most of your energy is absorbed by food digestion. So if I have to give a small technique, let's say a 15 minutes one, can you just break down into a small sampler for our listener who can
Yes, sure.
take that and do it? So we can have a kind of a 5 minutes or 10 minutes kind of a session, and then
We
we
don't
can.
need 5 minutes. Maybe we can do it just about for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Just for
I
people
think
to,
we
yeah. So
can
we
practice it.
let people experience what I'm talking about. So one thing I want everybody to understand is, just because something is simple, please don't discount it. Okay.
Right.
Something can be very, very simple and very, very effective. Please practice it, because we will be, doing it right now. So please practice it over a couple of days, or at least, I would say at least about 20-21 days, minimum. And then come to any conclusions of how
Okay.
well, you will respond to it. Okay. So yes, so let's start. Everybody, whoever is here, or
Yes,
Abhijit,
sure.
especially you, please sit comfortably, close your eyes. Let your spine be erect, however you are, and just breathe. So if you're sitting on a chair, make sure your feet are on the ground. So it's very important that your feet should not be hanging in the air. So if you are able to reach the floor right now, that's fine. But later, for people, whoever is practicing at home, you can place a stool under your feet to get that grounding there. So it's very important for the entire body to be grounded when we start. So the palms have to be facing the ceiling again. You can place them on your thighs, around your knees, or you can place them beside you, depending on how you're sitting. If you're sitting on the floor, then I request you to keep your feet stretched out. Okay, so do not sit with folded feet. Let your feet be stretched out and there should be a hip width distance between them. Again, your hands could be on your thighs or beside you, palms facing the ceiling. Fingers naturally curled and well spaced out. This is to allow good flow of energy. So we are not observing any of the yogic mudras here, just letting the fingers be in their natural position, which is about an inch of a difference between each. And just breathe. Now I request all of you to take your breath awareness to the tip of your nose. Take the awareness to the tip of your nose. Observe how the breath feels cool as you breathe in and warm as you breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now shift your awareness to your chest region and breathe into your chest. Breathe in, push the chest out. Breathe out, pull it in. Next, let's move the awareness to our stomach region. Breathe into your stomach. Breathe in, balloon the stomach out. Breathe out, pull it in. Deep abdominal breathing stimulates our vagal nerve and helps us in relaxation. Now that we are comfortably into our breath, let us move the awareness to the feet. Relax your feet and still your toes and feet. Moving up your thighs, relax them. Take the awareness to your spine, to your shoulders, relax your shoulders. Now take the awareness to your hands. Breathe into your arms and still your palms and fingers. Anybody who is doing it for the first time, it is quite natural for you to move these parts a little bit, which is all right. You'll get there with practice. Now we move the awareness to our mouth. Now gulp in the saliva in the mouth and try not to gulp in the saliva for the next 1 minute when we'll be in total stillness. Move the awareness to your nose, relax your nostrils and keep breathing normally. Move the awareness to your eyes, relax them. Shift your awareness to the middle of the eyebrows. With your eyes closed. And now still your eyeballs and eyelids. It's all right if you're twitching them right now. Like I said, we'll get there with practice. Take the awareness to your forehead. Relax your forehead. Right now, your entire body, your feet, your hands, everything is in absolutely still condition. The only movement allowed is the movement of the natural breath. And now we stay in this absolutely still state for the next 1 minute. Meanwhile, you will have a lot of thoughts coming in. Just don't engage with them. Become an observer for the next 1 minute. I'll keep the time. The time starts now. Wiggle your toes. Gently move the fingers of your hands. You can gulp in the saliva now. Relax your shoulders. And gently, with a smile on your face, you can open your eyes.
Wow.
How do you feel, Abhijit?
I am feeling relaxed. I'm not into a interview right now. I was in the I wanted this particular thing to be continued, but really
Yes.
relaxing. I think the kind of sessions that I have done for myself, I usually start with bottom to up, and I think it was a very different experience to start from top to bottom and coming back to. I think it was one complete cycle that was, and
Yes.
it felt different. It felt, I think, a little bit complete, more complete than what I do, because it goes like, from top, like from toes. So active muscle relaxation goes in that particular direction. But I think Yoga Nidra, this also had a combination of Anapansati
Anapan.
meditation that most of people might be familiar or may not be. But it is
Yes.
all about looking at the breath and being mindful about the breath in and out, what you inhale and exhale. So I think there was a lot of, I think you said that you have married a lot many things together.
Yes. So,
And
Abhijit, what I want to really make people understand is
mm,
that what happens is when you are concentrating on the instructions, which is, whoever is saying them out,
mm,
for those split seconds, there is a moment when you're not thinking anything at all.
true.
Okay? And that those split seconds gradually start to increase as you get deeper into the practice.
Very true.
So, and I don't know if you're aware, there are so many studies which talk about just 17 seconds holding a thought, right?
Mm,
Just as short as 17 seconds. So
right.
as your seconds accumulate, you will realize that is a very, very achievable goal, and how beautifully your productivity improves. Right now, we are trying to only improve the quality of sleep, right? But like I said, as it will start tickling in the other areas of your life, you will realize the importance of something as simple as and short as the stillness technique. So do make time for it.
No, it was so, I think it started with a very, the usual one. And as you said, that there would be a 17 second. I had 3 seconds, but I can feel like I was like just dipping down and just then I came.
Yeah, so that's what
So,
happens when you're listening to it. So
yeah.
see, when you
Mm.
once you are a pro, I mean a meditator, you can go on for hours. See, this is a very addictive practice. I mean, any meditative practice, the
True.
moment your awareness improves, the
Mm.
moment you become mindful of things, it is extremely, you don't need anything then, right?
True.
No. So you will really want to, hit that every day and prolong it.
Right.
But yes, for a beginner level, it is
Mhm.
your productivity which we are trying to, improve on,
Right.
kind of increase here.
Increase, yeah. Right.
That's what we are actually, aiming at. Nothing else. Of course, sky is the limit once you want to meditate.
Right. True. Yeah, I think this is a kind of a window that has been open. Definitely the doors are also there. And once you get a glimpse of it, and as you said rightly, it is very addictive. When you start seeing the change that this particular small technique, as you said, looks simple. It looks trivial at a point of time. But you don't have to discount it as soon as possible. Make sure that you're practicing it for 21 days, even for the listeners or whoever is listening right now. And in future, people will be referring to this particular interview in the podcast. Whatever technique that Dr. Shalini has talked about, whatever glimpse that she is able to pull into this particular 45 minutes of our chat, I think it was so much of golden nuggets that she has dropped out into our conscious understanding of it. If we are able to pull in those particular practices, and I would encourage all the listeners and future listeners that you can refer back to the technique, you can refer back to what we are trying to achieve through this. That would make it more relevant and more I think acceptable, because I don't want to challenge anybody's mind frame or any kind of belief or set of things. You just take it as a technique, don't take it as one of the frame that has been given to propagate any kind of a thing that we want to. This is truly from a perspective of human to human interaction that we are trying to achieve. And definitely that has been an unsaid vow that we take as a therapeutic coach and, healers and all people who are working into mental wellness fraternity. And it is always there for the better good of everybody. So I was so much, I was not expecting it to end in 2 minutes. I wanted to have an, hour and half of it. And I think everybody might have experienced the same. And Dr. Shalini is already running, certain sessions that she regularly run, and she had already talked about it. Dr. Shalini would also put those particular link or contact details where you can get in touch with her in order to get enrolled into those particular certificate or in terms of courses or any kind of services that you require. So in short while, I think if any of our listener that is there right now, I have Uma Maheshwari who is with us. So I was planning for a 5 minutes kind of a question and answer that is there. So Uma, if you have any questions, you want to unmute yourself and you can talk, or else you can put it onto chat box if you are with us. And you can also share your experience, like how you felt about the quick technique that Dr. Shalini has talked about. Uma, are you there?
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I feel in my personal experience, it's very effective, sir.
Oh, great.
Very effective. After activation, nalla calm mardu. But if we go some walking and if we see any TV, then its effect is somewhat less.
Less, right. Very rightly said. But how you felt about the 2 minutes session, Uma?
Classல வந்து இன்னும் it will be very detailed இருக்கும்.
Yeah, right.
But in this session, it is very short.
Yeah, truly. Great. Okay, great. I think if you have any question you want to ask to Dr. Shalini, Uma, or I think we can close it down.
Yeah, so so once you have practiced this technique, ideally, if you're doing it for a better quality of sleep, you should go to sleep immediately, is what we talk about. So if you get back into a stimulating environment, obviously, it would reduce the effect. But yes, if done consistently.
I can't sit in Vajrasana. You are
Mm.
sitting in Vajrasana, but
Mm.
I can't sit. I am not able to sit in Vajrasana.
You can be sitting on the chair also. That's all right.
So first I sat in chair. Nowadays I am
Sit on the
doing
floor.
in a mat.
Oh, great. Good, good. Thank you so much, Uma. Thank you so much for your question, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, I would like to thank Dr. Shalini for encapsulating the entire wisdom that you were talking about sleep and how it is important. And uh, this is not the conclusion of this is not a magic wand as we were talking about. It is
Yes.
something that you have to practice on daily basis. And it is always said that enlightenment is not through the insight. Enlightenment is through the practice. So enlightenment happens to practice. It is not through you read certain things, you listen to a podcast, you read a book, and you listen to all the gurus that are there. Unless until you don't practice on yourself, it is not going to open up the doors of the improvement that you're looking at, or the kind of miraculous manifestation that you're looking at. It would be just an outcome of it. We look at it as a miraculous because we are sitting on a gold chest, but we are not getting access, or consciously as an intentionally we have talking about. So a lot of default thing that we are doing, we are making our life more reactive than in response part. And I think Yoga Nidra, talking about sleep, talking about the sleep science that is there, and practicing it in daily life can open up a lot of doors that we have shut closed, which we naturally we had inherent from our life. So it was a great talk, Dr. Shalini, and I can't thank you more in words, but the kind of experience that you have bring into this particular podcast was really phenomenal. And I truly believe that would be serving a lot many people who are suffering from, at least for a short while, but for a longer and lasting effect that can be definitely through getting enrolled into your classes and taking that particular services. So thank you so much, Dr. Shalini, and thank you all.
Thank you for
Yeah,
so much.
yes.
Yeah.
And thank you all listeners who have been being in this particular podcast and following whatever we talked about. So for next podcast, we will be getting ready for next week, and truly we are going to be as a serving serving hand in terms of getting your mental resilience up to that level where the life would be more worth living. Not less of pain, I would say, but I would give you an idea that you would be more resilient to get that pain, or
You have the tools. Yes.
yeah, you have the tools. But yes, the practice has to go on. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening ahead, and we can connect back in next podcast. Thank you, Dr. Shalini, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Uma. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.